Document it if you want. So we got a little group. We're all going to be buddies today. Look forward to showing you guys around Asheville. We're going to do 3 stops. This is the vintage tour. We're going to start with the oldest brewery here in town, Highland Brewing Company. And we're going to drive out to Black Mountain, go to Pisgah. And then we're going to come back to Green Man, which is the second oldest. So we're going to have a great time. But my job is to put beer in your hand. So let's put beer in your hand. Let's get on the
Sounds like a... Meg and I are on the beer tour. Our kids are at camp, so we decided we'd go drink some beer with some other adults. And I know, we could have brought our dog. Couldn't find that out. Hey, who's Michigan? Are you a Michigan fan?
Yeah.
Who they play today?
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. Oh yeah, that'll be a good game. So the first stop is Highlands Brewery, and you say this is the largest one in North Carolina? Cool. Nice entrance. Like it. Good idea. Our tour guide said we should get everybody sober and see what it looks like after a couple.
A little louder, I think.
This is like the first day camp, you know, everybody's getting to know each other.
Yeah.
Like the freshest hop. So most beers, all beers have hops in them, right? Mm-hmm. Hops are grown, they're grown outside. They're not very happy down here in North Carolina. They're like a little like colder and wetter. Michigan, Washington State, the Dakotas, Idaho, Montana, stuff like that. But they grow, they look like this. Go for it. Like squeeze it, smell it, don't chew it, please. It would ruin your palate. But they're grown like this, different varieties, hundreds of different varieties. And they're picked. Some breweries use whole cone hops, which means that they dry these out. Like Sierra Nevada only uses dried whole cone hops, but most breweries use what are called pellet hops, which is dried, compressed hops. You can smell it, right? Did you guys really smell this stuff?
I did.
This beer is going to smell like
really
this.
Good. Like fresh.
Okay, so this is an IPA, but this is a wet, fresh, not dried hop beer, which is very rare because they don't grow them down here. They paid a lot of money to fly these in.
So we're getting our cool safety glasses.
I know.
I think we're getting ready to see the actual beer. This is a porter or a stout. I forgot which one he said, but basically darker porters and stouts are darker beers because they're from darker grains, if I understood him correctly.
These glasses, I know.
System where they do small batch beers. So all those beers on the left side of that menu over there are like just the play recipes, you know, to see if people. They get 6 kegs at a time. We're going to see a 50-barrel system in the back that makes 100 kegs. So they kind of, this is fun. This is fun. You could definitely operate a successful brewery on a system this size, but for a company as big as Highland with 7-state distribution, this ain't enough. This ain't getting it done. This would be like just to sell beers in house kind of thing. But yeah, we're going to go big in the back, but. Before we go back there, I appreciate you guys if you would not pull any levers, push any red buttons, drive any forklifts, any of that stuff.
We probably should have done this before we had the beer.
That used to be the logo? Oh my God.
For Highland beer? Huh. Oh, that's so cool.
And then walk in.
During
This is their outdoor stage. They have about 1,500 people out here for their show. So we talked about those 4 ingredients, the grains, the hops, the yeast, and the water. There's basically 4 steps in the brewing process to keep it simple. You start with all those grains, and that's what we've been seeing in these stacks, kind of on storage, and storage over there. On the way here, there's bags of grain right there. They actually have bulk grains in silos outside as well. But you guys saw in the container, those grains, they're whole kernel, so we need to crush them. And crush them in this mill room. Behind those gray doors, and that's to expose the insides to get at those starches. And then those crushed grains get augered. They get augered. It's like a mill. It's like grinding. Yeah. It's like two heats, and then they go between them and they get crushed up. So they get augered out of that room. The reason it's in that room, it creates a lot of dust. And then we got heat over here. So they crush it behind those doors. Then they auger it out. It goes into this holding tank. And then he's pulled into this first tank over here as they need it. And in that first tank, they're exposing those crushed grains to about 170, 180 degree water. And they're stirring it around, and they're basically steeping it like a tea or a coffee. And they're extracting all those sugars that we're going to feed to the yeast later. That tank's called the mash tun. And that process is called lautering, which is just a bunch of old German terms. So they're lautering the grain and getting all that sugar off and creating sugar water, basically. It's called wort, W-O-R-T, wort. And that takes about an hour. After an hour, they're going to take all that water over here to the second tank, and they're going to leave all those what are called spent grains in that first tank. And those spent grains get augered back out of that gray line, see going out to the wall, and they go into a holding tank, and they go to farmers. Farmers come by and pick them up every day. They go through about 12 to 15,000 pounds of spent grain a day, which is free piggy food. Cow food, chicken food. So that's a pretty cool system. And that's every brewery here in town. So we go to a lot of spent grain. Some of it also goes to dog food companies and baking purposes in town. So if you ever go somewhere and you get like a sandwich that says spent grain, it's from a brewery. So now we have our sugar water and the boil kettle, the second tank right here. You know it's a boil kettle because it has an exhaust chimney on it. And they're going to literally boil that sugar water. So it's aeroized, it's pasteurized basically. The bacteria love sugar. So they're going to heat it past 180 degrees, get it rolling, and then they're going to add their hops to this point. And that's where you get the bitter flavors that we either love or hate in our IPAs. You have to boil your hops in order to get that lupulin to convert into alpha acids and preserve your beer. Not all beers have a strong hoppy flavor, but they all have some kind of hoppy. Some just produce really strong flavors. Yeah, some of them are boiled longer, some of them aren't. Yep, just different beers, a lot of different variables. Timing is definitely a big part of it. This process takes about an hour. If you've ever seen a Dogfish Head beer that says a 90-minute IPA or a 120-minute IPA, that means they boiled it for longer than an hour. So they boiled it for 90 minutes. Those beers are usually higher in alcohol because when you boil that long, you evaporate the water. So you get a concentrated sugar. So usually the longer you boil, those are hard beers to make. So Dogfish Head has definitely figured that out. But a lot of breweries just do, mostly they brew for an hour, boil for an hour. So after we've created the sugar water, that wort liquid, and after we've boiled it, hopped it, we're done on the hot side. Brewers make wort, yeast makes cheese. That's what's going on in that bucket. Fermentation. So now we're on the cold side. We're going to pull that liquid down and transfer it over into these fermenters. And all these tanks that you guys see with the cone-shaped bottom, conical bottoms, these are all fermenters. So whenever you go to a brewery, you can kind of like see like, oh, that's a boil kettle. It has a chimney on it. The mash tun has big doors on it. You can't really see the front from this angle, but the mash tun you can tell it has big doors so they scoop the grain out. The fermenters always have this shape, and I'll explain that in a second. But now we have our sugar water over here, and it's time for yeast to do its job. Every beer you've ever had has either been an ale or a lager. Those are the two styles of beer. Those are the two styles of yeast that ferment. Ales take a month, lagers take 2 months. Most breweries are making ales, so they can make
faster.
Lagers, we will maybe have one lager today. Lagers are Pilsner beers, really light, easy beers. A lot of breweries are starting to make those, but it takes longer. There's a little bit more to it. Most of these beers are going to be ales. So you either throw in your ale yeast or your lager yeast, and the yeast starts eating up all those sugars that we've provided and creating ethyl alcohol, which gets us drunk, and CO2. Baker's yeast, which isn't beer yeast, but it's still yeast, right, that makes bread and everything, it produces higher amounts of CO2 to alcohol. So different yeasts do different things, but brewer's yeast makes mostly alcohol and a little bit of CO2. Because what happens when you eat? You have farts. So those are called yeast farts.
So that's CO2 coming out of there? That's what that is?
So that's a darker beer. Darker beers have a richer protein head. So So what's going on in the top of that fermentation is there's a bunch of like that protein is rising to the top, and then you have all the CO2 coming out, and it's creating this foam. So it's just basically there's nowhere to go. See, these ports go to the very top of the tank. See where it goes all the way up?
Right.
So it's coming off the top, and then it's going into a bucket of sanitizer, and that's the byproduct of fermentation for certain styles of beer. It's probably ale. So that's a happy fermentation, right? It's always cool to see this. I mean, not every time I come by is there this happening, but that's why you have drains in the floor, right? Fermentation is messy. So yeah, all the CO2 is coming off. So after we're done fermenting, the reason these tanks look this way is the yeast will start to die because it's creating something that kills it, ethyl alcohol. But it'll also get drunk and sleepy. It'll start to fall to the bottom. And the reason we have this shape is when the beer is done, first now it's beer, when the sugar water is done fermenting the beer, this is called wrapping arm. They're going to take the beer from here up, out, and then below this is all yeast. So that's a way to clarify it. So you don't have yeasties floating around in your beer making you all bloated and farty. That's a real thing.
That must have been what I had last night.
Yeah. Something floating at the bottom of your beer. Don't drink it. So that's fermentation. This is a 50 barrel system. We were kind of talking about volume earlier. This is a 50 barrel. A barrel makes 2 kegs. So a 50 barrel system makes 100 kegs. But these are 100 and 200. So they brew twice and 4 times to fill these up. Each brew takes about 6 to 8 hours. So they work around the clock, fill these things up, pinch their yeast. So if a barrel makes 2 kegs, a 100 barrel fermenter makes how many kegs? 200. 200 half barrels, like the keg stand kegs? Yeah. So if a 200 makes 400 kegs. And the cool thing about fermentation is it doesn't matter if you're brewing at home or you're brewing here, it's still going to make an ale in a month because you just put more yeast in these, just more volume. So the name of the game is to get the biggest fermenters you possibly can because it's going to make an ale in a month. This one's going to make an ale in a month too, but that's going to make twice as much. That's how you keep up. Sierra Nevada's biggest fermenters are 1,600 barrels.
Holy cow.
You guys saw them. The tallest ones. Yeah. They go to the ground too. They're not just
sitting outside.
but they're in the ground too. That's how tall they are. So 1,600 barrels, it's 3,200 kegs. This is 400. About 8, 9. Go into the bucket. So now we need to carbonate it. So that's our 4th step. So we're going to carbonate. Let's carbonate. The fermenter, they put it in the fridge and they reuse it, and this is going to wake it up. So these tanks are called fry tanks. They're just basically big carbonation tanks, or heads. They're going to force carbonate under pressure, CO2, into all these beers, and this is how you create consistency. You don't do this when you're brewing at home, but another 6 to 8 hours, and you got bubbles in your beer, which adds to the flavor of the flat beer, and it's ready to keg. When I say a barrel makes 2 kegs, I'm talking about these size. These are 15.5 gallons. So a barrel is 31 gallons. So this is their kegger. They bought this from Bell's. It does a half barrel in 75 seconds, and then these things on the top are adapters for the smaller, like quarter barrel and pixels, you know, like the little kegs. So this thing just centers them. Just weld it. And then they can.
Oh, thanks. See, if I had my Ohio State jersey on, he wouldn't have done that.
Yeah. We walked away and hold it.
Close it on you. I'm just messing with you, man.
Smell that, guys? That's aged whiskey.
Now are those
Oh, that's the whiskey.
Different company.
Nice.
do they
That your
when I went
company?
to the
Yeah, he said he was. That's your day job.
Top of the line, German engineering. What all the big boys and girls use. A lot of money over here. A lot of investment pays off. Though it's very accurate. No weight.
So we are now at Pisco Brewing Company. Hey, hey, hey.
In England, and then when the English invaded India in the 1700s, they needed to transport the beer further than they ever had, so they overly hopped it. Hops provide those preservatives we talked about, so they overly hopped it. So the pale ale turned into the India pale ale.
Yeah.
That's where the IPA comes from. So it's more hops, just a hoppier style.
So that.
You guys ever had sours? So sour beer use a lot of different ingredients to get that sour flavor. So it smells weird. Yeah. I actually don't really brew hardly in here anymore. This is their pilot system. Yeah, but they had the warehouse now, and they moved there was a lot of equipment in here, and they moved it into the warehouse, and this is now like their small batch basically. But you guys know all this stuff. Mash tun, remember we talked about this is where we get our grain. We make our sugar water. They grind the grains in that box, and then you see how it gets augered. See this big pipe right here coming out of that rim? That's the grains. An auger is basically a screw that's inside of PVC, and it's moving, and it's pulling that grain into that tank up top. Then they create the sugar waters in the mash tun. You got the name right on the front. And then when they're done, they scrape the grain out of that front door. They don't have a system like Highland does. So they do it manually, put them in tubs for the farmers. And then they have the brew kettle right there. You can see it has the chimney on it, right? That's where they boil it and add their hops. Then they have their fermenters over here. This is a 10-barrel system, so this makes about 20 kegs at a time. And then they carbonate right here. Ta-da! Beer. You also need, so you need 4 ingredients and a lot of money. That's the other thing. And somebody like me to make it. So if you guys find the money,
Hook you up.
you need to call. So this is just, the same idea is the same pieces of equipment you're going to see in any brewery. It's the same concept always. If you go into a cidery or like a winery, they pretty much already get like the sugars extracted. They get like a juice, like an apple juice or a grape juice, and then they basically just ferment. But fermentation tanks in other places don't have the shape on the bottom. You could reuse beer yeast because the alcohol content's lower, but the other products like fruit sugars and whatnot, the yeast dies generally. So they don't have this conical bottom, they just have a flat bottom because they're not saving the yeast. So only in breweries we see this shape. The cool thing about Sierra Nevada and New Belgium is that they save the CO2. You know, we were talking about how how we saw the yeast bubbles going into the buckets. Sierra Nevada and New Belgium, the bigger ones, they have a big mechanism at the top that saves that CO2, and they actually carbonate with it later. So it's like a sustainable. Sierra Nevada doesn't use any electricity. It's crazy. They use rainwater for something. I think the bathrooms use rainwater. It's a cool company. And they use the yeast fart.
I love the pennies. That's kind of cool. All right, so we are off the beer tour. Say hi, Mommy.
Hi.
What was your favorite beer?
Maybe the blueberry one.
She liked the blueberry one. I like the first. What was the first one? The Gaelic beer or something? All right, so we are checking into the Renaissance. We've stayed here before. It's right beside the Thomas Wolfe home place. That's that yellow house right over there. Thomas Wolfe's mother rented rooms out, so that was it. And we're checking into our hotel. It was rather expensive, but so all the hotels downtown, and it's just for one night. And since our kids are at camp, we decided we want to do it. So we're going to go to the AC hotel for sunset. So here we go.